Alrighty, there we go. I just wanted to record my starting soon screen for like a couple seconds for this new recording. But yes,
Oh,
welcome everyone. Welcome. Niners, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Niners for life. Again, hang out here mostly with Al talking sports, whether it's 49ers or wrestling or baseball or basketball, pretty much all sports. Officially, Tuesday night will be my play-by-play debut for uh, our high school squad. Don't know. I don't think we're doing it on YouTube, so I'll have to send you the link to the new stream. But I think we're going to move everything over to Huddle.
All right.
We're utilizing their broadcasts. But so a lot of what I do off of stream is outside of work. I'm pretty much got something every season for our high school sports team. And as I just was kind of hinting to Al there, I'm actually going to be calling basketball, be doing play by play for basketball for the high school teams this year. So something added to my repertoire, but should be fun. I'm excited to get going on it. So
Nice,
other than
nice.
that, I just hang out.
Oh, for sure. Big hanging out. Big victory Friday, by the way, because again, brought up 49ers. Ooh,
Yes.
big victory Friday. Just
Always love beating the Seahawks.
just what I needed. I was very nervous. I was getting a little confident during that first half because we were just scoring, but going into half we were slowing down, and then the third quarter happened, and I was like, dude, are we gonna let
Yeah.
them come back? I'm like, are you swear? Like I swear. It's like, and I was talking to Psycho about this too, and he was like, dude, you guys are fine. I was like, dude, I have I have PTSD from
We've seen this
2019.
before.
Okay.
We've seen this before.
So don't tell me that everything is gonna be okay. It's like,
Right. Nothing's ever okay.
but yeah, glad that we got the win. We officially have the number
Mm,
2 seed, and then we have about 9 days worth of rest before we head into Philadelphia against the Eagles, which will be the key matchup of the season. A lot of people thought it was going to be the
Yep.
Cowboys, but then look what we had did to the Cowboys. But this is probably the matchup that everyone's going to be keeping their eyes on. They didn't want to flex it to Sunday Night Football because Fox wanted to keep it on their television. But it should be a good matchup. I'm very excited. I can be more talkative about the Philadelphia game now because I don't want to get ahead of myself.
100% agree with you there. No, I actually I've been kind of looking at this, and it sounds like Gibson or not Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Greg
it Burks?
Greg
Odom.
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 Yeah, it was Greg
So
Odom.
lost Odom, but I'll tell you the rookie, our
Mhm.
rookie safety looks pretty good. He comes up and hits, and you tell he's been hanging around with Hufanga quite a bit. So um, that defense looked for a stretch. Um, Seattle did a really good job of moving the ball on them, and they were going real quick, and our pass rush couldn't get there. But I don't know what tweaks they made, but really towards the middle of that fourth quarter, they made just a couple of tweaks, and all of a sudden it was locked back in. So, great job, great adjustment last night. Great job by the team of playing well and getting after it. And always like going into Seattle and getting wins.
For sure. Now, enough about football.
Yep.
Let's get into the conversation because we have the biggest, most anticipated pay-per-view premium live event, whatever the hell you want to call it, in Survivor Series War Games because there's a lot of things going on. I will be the delusional fan to anticipate his search and return. I'm wearing his damn shirt. So we got a lot to unpack here in Survivor Series War Games. Again, only 5 matches on the card. I do have some tiebreaker questions that we'll probably get into anyways. But before this re-recording, I was already discussing Gunther versus The Miz. So
Mm.
I would like your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I like the fact that they're pushing the Miz back up into this role. Again, well, and now onto the babyface side because he's been able to play both sides
Mhm.
um, of that coin. But Gunther has been so dominant And I don't know. I just don't see the Miz pulling this one out. I think he gives him a good run, but the only I'm gonna pick Gunther, but I'm hesitant because all the issues that Imperium's having right now.
Mhm.
And I could see them costing Gunther that match, but I don't think they'll cost him the title. So
Mm.
I'm gonna stay with Gunther on that one.
I mean, I will say with Gunther matches, he usually doesn't have the other members in Premium of Imperium out there because it's just usually him walking alone.
Yeah, and that we could see that exact same thing here, but I just with everything I've seen going on there, I could see one of them or both of them popping out and distracting him, or it'll be interesting to see how they play it. Again, like you said, with only 5 matches on the card, it's not. There's a lot of room here for some addition.
Possibly. Though I do feel like it's only a shorter card because we have two War Games matches on the card, and those are usually 50 minutes, probably an hour. I feel like the main event War Games match will probably be an hour. But I mean, I do
Yeah.
fully agree with you. I did bring up some earlier like shenanigans that could possibly go on. There is this lingering record that The Miz could do is if he did beat Gunther, he would tie Chris Jericho for most IC titles. Now, will WWE
Hmm.
be petty enough to do that? But there's also another record that both The Miz and Gunther could possibly hit, and that's the amount of days as champion in total, like overall. And that's
Okay.
Pedro Morales' record, which is I believe it's 600 and something days. And Gunther's like I think he had just recently passed the 500-day mark. So he's already up there.
Ooh.
And The Miz, I forgot how many days as total champion throughout his 8 reigns where he was at. But both of them are like right there, whoever wins the title. So then,
So if
you're saying,
so, my question is then if so Gunther, you said he's at 5 something.
yes,
So if he, I guess I'm just trying to think when would that like at what point would he break it? Again, we talked about this back when the he was looking to pass Honky Tonk Man's record,
she already did.
and it worked out that you kind of knew that all right, if they're giving him that record or if he's getting that record, he's not going to lose at this point. I'm just wondering where that record would fall. Does it fall at another pay per view? Because that'd be what about 120 some days out, so 3 months
Hmm.
ish. I'm just or 4 months ish. So
I mean, that would be hard to think.
March.
And
I mean
then
WrestleMania.
I mean, there's WrestleMania. I don't want to say Elimination Chamber, and I'm saying this just to correct myself because I said, oh, he could possibly lose at Elimination Chamber. He's not going to
Mm.
be at Elimination Chamber because of the visa issues that he's having here,
Oh,
and he has to be here in the United States for like 6 months.
okay.
So he's not gonna be at Elimination Chamber. He's gonna be for sure at Mania because it's in Philadelphia. But Mm, I f
Man.
I'm trying to think of what the plans that they'll do. Again, I have him possibly winning the Royal Rumble, if not maybe LA Knight. But do you have him walk in and win the Rumble as IC champion, go up against possibly Seth Rollins as IC champion, then he just becomes double champion, and then he just eventually drops the IC belt either on his own or they do the storyline like, oh, that he defends the title separately, so he's doing like 2 matches a night to where he eventually loses the IC title through that.
Hmm. So and this is
Mhm,
my bias here is I'm a huge fan of like the IC tournament,
mhm,
like throwing an IC tournament together. So I'm fine with that run up like you did. But then when he wins the heavyweight title, because I think he's the one who has to take it off Seth. I think I've kind of been thinking about this here with McIntyre, and I think Seth gets through McIntyre, and I would like to see maybe Gunther steps in and takes that title. Um, if he takes it, then you vacate the IC title and let him do a real tournament though. Don't none of this. Oh, we're gonna have three guys. You're in triple threat, and if that the winner of those triple threats will now face each other. It's like just do a tournament. You have so many things you can screw up in a tournament. You put so many rivalries together and break new ones out. I think it'd be definitely something you could do. So I don't know. I'm I just don't see Gunther losing at this point. I think this is another one they really have been pushing him with these records. So I think that one is going to start coming up, and that he'll, like I said, if he wins that one, and there's another possibility is if it does hit at WrestleMania, he wins the world heavyweight title and he vacates because he's already got the record. And
Hmm.
he says, "I have nothing else to do with this here." So I don't know. There's definitely some storylines they could run here on this one. I just don't see, as much as I like the Miz getting his run here, I just don't see him winning it.
Yeah. I mean, it is very interesting to me because I was like, like, especially these past few years, he's just been the goofball heel. Now they're actually pushing him as this like serious baby face. And again, I do like, as I mentioned, I did like their like promo segment that they did on Raw this week. And like where Gunther is like, oh, you got bullied in school because you idolized all these wrestling legends just for you to become a WWE superstar and get bullied by those same legends in the locker room. And I was like, damn.
But they reached back for some good stuff there. I was really impressed with that promo, especially that one, the last one they did here when they were face to face. That one was really cool.
Mm. But it will be interesting. Again, I do not see the Miz winning this unless WWE is really, really petty with Chris Jericho and just having the Miz tie him.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. But I don't know. I don't know. that one's that one's got me a little bit puzzled. So
But I'm still gonna go with Gunther. It's probably like the easiest match other than the women's world title match will probably be like the easiest
yep.
to decide. But since I had mentioned that we can actually go into that with Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark. I mean, we can all agree it's gonna be Rhea, and there's no way in hell that Zoe Stark is gonna be Rhea. This is literally like last year when Shotzi faced Ronda Rousey for
Yep.
I believe it was the SmackDown title at the time, and like, okay, well, we don't see Shotzi at all winning this. It's literally the same thing. It'll probably be a better match because you have two people that actually know what they're doing compared to a Ronda Rousey, who's on Ring of Honor, by
Hmm.
the way. She made a Ring of Honor debut,
Yep. I
which
saw
um,
that.
which I was like, okay, cool, good for you. You're on Ring of Honor, in which people have to pay a subscription to the Honor Club to watch you wrestle, unless if it's a pay-per-view. But it, I mean, the story is not even really that interesting going into it, other than that Zoe Stark is just playing onto how Rhea Ripley's all like stretched out thin because she's trying to worry about things going on with Judgment Day and all this other stuff. And then it's like how she's not even really entirely focused on her match in Survivor Series. That's pretty much the story. Um, Zoe's still a little on the mic. Like
Yeah.
she really needs to do more on the mic to like have me convinced like, hey, you're gonna win the championship. But she hasn't really done that. But yeah, I'm going with Rhea Ripley. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah. I just I like Zoe Stark coming in. I think the pairing with Shayna was a little interesting
Mm,
here on Monday night, and so I'll be interested to see if Shayna comes to ringside with Zoe for that match. Not that I don't think Zoe will win it, but I think they're setting up Rhea and Shayna
mm,
down the road. So because she just really appeared. I mean, there was really no good correlation that I can remember between Zoe and Shayna. And so for the two of them to be hanging out in the clubhouse together was a little interesting.
Well, after this is after the Trish and Becky steel cage match, and basically Trisha's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like you're supposed to help me win and all this other thing." And then Zoe was like, "Nah, whatever, forget you," hits a move and then leaves.
Mm,
And then I believe the following Monday on a Raw was when Shayna came in to like befriend her and stuff, which is again, I do agree with you, is pretty interesting. But I guess just so she can be there to help out Zoe develop more since she's still transitioning from NXT to WWE main roster status. But I don't see her getting involved. Probably maybe after the match. This is probably going to be the possible Royal Rumble match if they do have a match at Royal Rumble.
that would be a good one. So I think there's a lot of build you can do on that, and that's what I think you mentioned it. This feud hasn't really been built very much. It was Zoe winning a chance to challenge, and so I would like to see them build a little bit more into that. Into I know Rhea's been running around basically trying I'll say trying running Judgment Day or making all the deals for Judgment Day. Let's put it that way. Um, but I don't know if I just don't see Zoe taking it from her without some interference happening or something crazy happening. And I just don't think they're there yet. I don't think
Hmm.
they're ready to take it off of Rhea. I think she's going to be carrying that belt for quite a while, possibly until Royal Rumble, possibly all the way up to WrestleMania if they build this uh, feud, the next feud, and whether it's with Shayna or with somebody else, if they build that the right way, they could take that all the way up to WrestleMania.
I feel like the Mania match for Rhea would probably be against Becky Lynch. That's my thinking, because I don't really see anyone on Raw being strong enough to that level yet, other than Becky right now. Just like how some people were thinking is going to be Charlotte and Bianca on the SmackDown side for the women's title over there, even though I prefer Io to keep the title.
Mm, I
But
agree with you there. I think EO they need to keep it with EO, especially as we get into the that first War Games match that you got listed here.
mm, but I'm like, yeah, I don't see Rhea losing the title until possibly Mania, or if she keeps it past Mania. But it'll be interesting. I expect some kind of shock value, but in the actual War Games matches, I do not see anything really happening going down during these singles matches, other than possibly, and we can talk about the next one, but we're both for Rhea Ripley, right?
Yep.
But yeah, the last singles match to discuss before we get into the last two War Games matches is Santos Escobar versus Carlito. The only surprise that I can see possibly going down is if Angel Garza and Humberto Cabrillo come back from NXT and like reform the new Legado de Fantasma with with
Mm,
Santos, since the other members got beat down by Escobar and they're still going to be
mm-hmm.
with LWO. That's like the only other like shock factor again, other than a CM Punk. Maybe a possible heel turn to go down in any of the War Games matches. But I can see those two returning to help out Santos, and then they just continue like this little feud war.
Yep. No, I agree with that. I think that would be an option. I was I I'm going to say Santos as well, but I think it's going to be I don't know. I've been going back and forth on this one as we've been looking at it. Um, I just can't decide if the original two are going to actually decide they should be with him instead, or if that, like you said, if they bring the two from NXT up. I'm not sure. This one's got me a little bit puzzled just because I understand why they put it on the card.
Mm.
It's just been kind of a weird. I can't believe that they flipped Santos back heel to have him be. So I've got to say he's winning this one. I don't think there's any question on that. Um, I think there'll be some shenanigans, and I think it'll be one of those two routes that we just kind of talked about there.
I mean, I'm going with Santos. Carlito really doesn't need the win here, other than he's just like, I'm defending Rey Mysterio's honor kind of thing, or like because he's my friend. But Santos needs the win here. I feel like he's like his heel turn was really good. I do like that, and then they play it on because Rey Mysterio is actually legit injured and he had to get surgery,
Yeah.
and then his promo after that, he's like, "Oh, I hope he gets infected or whatever," and they have to amputate your leg and kind of thing. I really did like that. They brought back his old theme music, which was really, really good. I like his old theme when the Legado de Fantasma days. Um, but I can see the other members of LWO possibly getting involved, maybe. But for sure, I can possibly see Angel Garza and Humberto Cabrillo coming in and helping out. And then again, they reform this new version of Legado de Fantasma, feud with LWO. I expect Dragon Lee to join LWO. As like I believe they have already even set that up on SmackDown with I forgot what they had posted and that Dragon Lee wanted to talk to Nick Aldis. So like, hey, I want to prove to Rey Mysterio that I want to defend his honor and all those other things. And then they gave him the little match with Axiom, which was fantastic. I do like that. Triple H is really putting into a lot of tension to the lucha libre style of wrestling. So I do like that they're getting more attention now.
Yeah, it's definitely makes for a. I I've said this in the past about other matches, and for a while it was mostly the women's matches. It's a great breakup from the normal matches that you see. Like the heavyweight matches, we're seeing the same stuff over and over, and it's just nice to have. And I felt the same way when WCW was still around. That
Hmm.
they did a really good job of promoting the cruiserweights and the lucha libre style matches. So it's nice to see that back because I enjoy watching that. Um, so I think that's really been a nice push. Um, but I think overall we talked about this. I don't know if it was two pay-per-views ago. We talked about the fact they're just breaking up every
Hmm.
faction, and now it feels like they're building them back slightly different. They're building them. I mean, you're going to have your faction that makes no sense, which is basically Team Cody in the War Games match. They make sense because they all have a common enemy, but they're not. It's not like these guys have been together forever. Where
Hmm.
like Judgment Day's been around together for quite a bit. Um, so yeah, I think they're starting to build back some of these stables and factions. And this is really the time of year. Survivor Series usually is the time of year you see all those matches. But this one they're utilizing War Games, so it'll be interesting to see how that one all works out. But yeah, I've got Santos on this one. I just can't see them. I can't see Carlito winning this match, and he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't need it. He's definitely a part timer. He's not going to be here for a long time. Um, so it's just going to be good to get Santos a good. Honestly, it could be just a squash match. Santos could just come out and just destroy him in 5 minutes, and that probably builds him more than it hurts him to show a long match.
Hmm. But yeah, I don't know what else could possibly go down for this match, but again, we both agree Santos winning. Shenanigans will probably go down, but yeah, Santos for sure winning. I would be honestly a little annoyed if Carlito did win this, because it would make no sense for him to
Correct.
win. But yeah, I got no other thoughts onto that unless if you have anything else you want to add to that match.
Nope, I don't.
Alrighty then. We got our final two matches to discuss, both of them being War Games matches. And I want to start off with the women's one because I feel like there's going to be a lot more shenanigans to go down in the men's that we'll probably look way into compared to the women's one. Even though a most recent post by Bailey is really like getting a lot of people's attention now of some shit gonna go down. But yeah, we have Team Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Shotzi versus Damage Control, or the version of Damage Control with the addition with Kairi Sane and Asuka being part of Damage Control now, and Io and Bailey. Dakota Kai is still injured, so she will not be in this match. So that's why it is still a 4-on-4 for this one. A traditional 4-on-4 that they used to do in NXT. Then they started doing this 5v5 last year. And then the men's is 5v5, but this is a 4v4 match in which we don't even know who has the advantage because they're deciding the advantage for war games. For the women's wars game match, you have to go vote for a sponsor because this is a sponsorship match for Ruffles, and it's in our hands to vote who has the advantage for that, which is very interesting when they could have just had a match. Because that's what they did for the men's. No, not
Yep.
Cody. It was Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre. Winner of that match, the team gets the advantage at War Games. Or they could have done what they did in NXT and they do a ladder match, which that's pretty fun to see a ladder match, and then whoever wins that ladder match gets the advantage to War Games. But no, we're voting because of a money sponsorship because WWE is greedy.
Well, yeah, yeah. I was a little upset by the fact that they didn't do something that it's being handled this way. Now, the other reason I say that is because where's our the cynical side of me goes, where's the tally of these votes, so that you don't just say, oh, we're gonna vote and then we've already decided who it's gonna be.
True, that could possibly. I mean, we'll find out in like 5-ish hours, anyways.
Yeah.
And SmackDown goes live in Chicago, Illinois. But man, I don't mind the story going into this, but it's like this is what really shows how weak the women's division can really be, especially on SmackDown side, where it's just constantly the same people feuding in. Like, I would have to agree with this YouTube channel, Wrestle Talk, where a lot of their guys had talked about how it's just been a revolving door, where one star goes out, but another one comes in to feud with Damage Control, and then that person that was feuding with them gets time off just for someone else to come in that's part of that same little group, and then so on and so on. But I do like the addition Kyrie saying and they returned a crown jewel. I do like that little thing because I feel like what could possibly happen is I feel like there could be two scenarios that could go into this. That Damage Control wins this, but like barely because of Bailey messing up, but they still managed to win, and they're just gonna give Bailey like the eye, like man, like we had barely won because of your mistake here, or they make Damage Control lose, and they officially beat down on Bailey, and she gets kicked out. And again, because she teased this herself with a post, and she had posted that she always has a plan. And it was a picture, it was a group picture, and Sasha Banks was in that picture, aka Mercedes
Hmm.
Monet. So I'm like, oh my god, it's like we're just teasing everyone now.
Yeah, I'm on the second side of that thought process. I think I think I've got Team Bianca down winning it because, and I'm gonna say because Bailey loses it for her team in one way, shape, or form. She
Mhm.
gets pinned, she submits something. Um, but I'm gonna say that that then leads to, if I look at long term story here, because when did Dakota Kai get hurt?
Oh god, I think God, I'm trying to think because I know she was part of the match at WrestleMania. Did she wrestle at Backlash? Because she
I couldn't
wasn't
remember.
she wasn't in the Money in the Bank match.
No.
So I'm gonna assume it was probably around that time of Backlash that maybe
Okay.
where she has gotten hurt. Because I'm like, other than that, I have like no like clear thought if she had wrestled at all.
Yeah, I can't remember it either. So the reason, and so my question there is, at the point she's back, now you have, now if Bailey's gone, you have four, and if what I'm thinking and what I'm envisioning is that they're going to put the four horsewomen back together.
Hmm.
If that post is not just out there to tweak the public,
I mean,
because
that could happen.
we haven't seen that. I mean, because three of them were up early. They were, other than NXT, since they left NXT, we haven't really seen that. They've hinted at it, but they've never really put it together. So I don't know if that's, again, I'm in that we're building factions mentality right now. But then you have, because you got two of them already there,
Mm.
and then I mean, and it's a matter they could turn on Bianca. I don't know. I don't know if they, something. I see something happening. I see Bailey being the one that costs her team that match. Either she takes the pin, she submits something, or and then they turn on her at the end of the night, and or turn on her after it, leading to, because they're, of course, that quote unquote feud will be over, leading to um, Becky and Charlotte saving her
Mm.
after the beatdown. So that I
Yeah.
just I'm
Oh.
deep in this one. This one I'm kind of, this one has got me kind of thinking all about the different ways they could approach it. I've been so deep in this one, just trying to
Nah,
figure
not
out what
now
they're
you're
doing.
making me possibly change my mind on my choice because I have damage control winning this match because I don't see the turn possibly happening at Survivor Series. I feel like a possible turn could happen at Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
That's where I feel like they'll do because again, especially last year where you had Sammy turn babyface like on the Bloodline. And that could possibly even happen what they do with this at the Royal Rumble. But I'm like I don't know. I want to go with damage control because I'm like if you look at all the teams who's realistically eating the pin on both teams, like for damage control, you can make the argument that it'll probably be Bailey that eats the pin. Like you don't want your champ to
yep,
get pinned. You don't want Kyrie
nope,
Sane to get pinned because she just came back. And then you don't want Asuka because she's already been a top star taking the pin. You look
yep,
over, you look over at Team Bianca. Of course, you don't want Bianca taking the pin. You don't want Charlotte Flair taking the pin. You don't want
nope,
Becky Lynch taking the pin. But the only person on that side that could possibly eat a pin is Shotzi.
yep.
which is why I feel like it's gonna be possibly Damage Control that could
Mm,
possibly win this, and they just pin Shotzi, and I would be very surprised if any of those big three on Team Bianca eat a pin.
yeah, I don't see that happening.
But for sure, I can see some kind of mistakes go down with Bailey, and it'll create tension. But I still feel like they're gonna win. As much as you're like really making me change my mind on this, I'm still gonna go with Damage Control. Because I'm like, this is basically a rematch from last year's War Games. Just different women involved, except for Becky and Bianca on that side. And then Damage Control, they had all or it wasn't all the members. Oh, yeah, it was all three because it was originally Io,
Yep,
Bailey, Dakota. Then they added on Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross.
yep,
But where you pretty much got all Damage Control except for Dakota Kai. And I feel like they really need a win because I'm like, again, we're just gonna go down that trend of the just basically when we did a WrestleMania podcast. Because I was like, Damage Control really needs this win. Are they gonna give them the big win? They didn't, and then it just didn't go anywhere. And then like the only thing that they had really going for them was a possible breakup that they had keep
yep.
teasing, especially at Money in the Bank when EO had won it. And then EO cashed
Yeah.
in, and but I'm like, I really want Damage Control to like have something. It's like hell. You could have Mercedes Monet return and just be babyface, and then she'll be like the Sami Zayn to like what she'll be the Sami Zayn, and like in this like scenario, Bailey would be like possibly like the Jey Uso of this when they were trying to make Jey Uso a babyface. But I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know. But I'm still gonna stick with Damage Control winning this one. I'm I gotta trust my gut. I will be risky here because again I'm defending my title and I will make it interesting by choosing the opposite outcome with having Damage Control win. But I'm hoping it's a good match. Again, it's only 4v4. This is probably going to be the match that opens Survivor Series because I do not see them doing back-to-back War Games matches.
no.
So this is for sure opening, unless a certain Shinsuke Nakamura comes out and issues an open challenge, and you know he'll pull to personality hit.
Yep.
But
I'd be interested to see if yeah, yeah, I'm on board with you there, and I don't know if they'll pay it off. If they'll pay it off, I know they want that. I know the crowd would lose their minds,
mm,
but I don't know. I don't know if they pay it off tonight or tomorrow night. I don't know if that's the case, but I still think there's room here, like you said, with only 5 matches, even though 2 of them are going to be war games. I think there's room for them to add a couple more in, and we might see something mentioned tonight. But I think Shinsuke coming out and doing a live promo, I think would be a pretty good option there.
mm. Though I will say, because we brought up Shinsuke, and a lot of people have been theorizing that is not CM Punk that he's calling out. That some people are saying it's another Japanese wrestler that he's calling out, and some people are assuming that it is Okada. And
Mm,
WWE, and I've seen reports that WWE has now like brought in some more interest into possibly signing Okada again. And so a lot of people are thinking it could be Okada. That will it be Okada? Probably not. Some people also think it's Brock Lesnar because because Brock Lesnar was in New Japan for a while and did face Nakamura, could possibly be Brock, but I wouldn't mind CM Punk again. Like you have all these like little teases that they were doing, even though WWE came out that like that wasn't really our doing. It was just you know people on the background doing all that stuff, like the USA Network doing a lot of like commenting of like CM Punk's like theme music
Mhm.
lyrics in the comments. And then you have Nakamura hitting the GTS. But I'm like, I don't know what they'll do. Again, I want to be the delusional fan of having CM Punk return tomorrow, and especially with you have AEW doing a 3 hour block of television because they moved Rampage off today to tomorrow, and I believe
Yep.
I think they're opening with Rampage instead of what they did last week when for Full Gear they had Rampage on Friday and or no, it was Collision that started off on Friday going up against SmackDown, and then you had Rampage right after Collision, which I saw the ratings for that. I was like, SmackDown like blew out Collision out of the water, and
Hmm.
having 2 million more viewers. But I'm like, I don't know. I will say that's pretty ballsy for Tony Khan to actually do that. To like, hey, we're gonna have a 3 hour block of TV wrestling. But I'm like, is there anyone really going to be paying attention to that when you have Survivor Series? And it doesn't help that it's also rivalry week for college football.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm like, you are really taking a big risk there.
No,
But
and that's a big part of it too. Is that he's got. I could see the pettiness coming out there, like you said. I could see Triple H deciding to be petty. It's like, hey, all right, we're gonna bring him back in Chicago against
during
Shinsuke.
during Collision, the show that you
Yeah.
made for CM Punk.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yeah.
man,
I'll be interested to see how that all works out.
oh man, it just better be good. I don't wanna this thing where it just continues and like nothing comes out of it. It's like they've really been showing a lot of TV and actually been caring about Nakamura, which I'm very happy about. But it's like, what? And like, I really don't want them to like mess us up here, because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, because I told my cousin this too, that they pretty much got until possibly the Royal Rumble if they are gonna bring back Punk.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't bring him back tomorrow, you could at least still sign him and bring him back as a surprise entrance in the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
But like other than that, I do not see him like possibly returning anywhere else, unless if it's like WrestleMania and they do like what they did with Cody, and then someone just has they have a mystery opponent like say Shinsuke Nakamura has a mystery opponent at Mania and it's Punk. But I'm like, will the fans be realistically wait long enough?
So my thought on that, and you just what you said just triggered a thought for me because I
Mhm.
forgot about how they brought Cody back in. Um, could it be? So no, we've thrown a couple of names out there that it could be who he's talking about. What if they now are going to have a series of matches with Nakamura and all the assumed personalities? The and after each one, he comes back. He comes out with another promo saying that it wasn't the right person, that you still don't know, or you haven't figured it out. And so then they drag this on, like you said, now to WrestleMania, where it finally gets revealed who it is.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a very long term story for that if that's what you're gonna do, but it's something that I guess it seems like the long term planning they should be doing with
Mhm.
like a Nakamura, because you can have him wrestle all these other guys and have him beat every one of them, and just he's on a tear, and he's just every time he comes back, nope, not who I wanted. Now I probably don't bring a Brock Lesnar into that situation. Just that doesn't seem like that's a good fit. Um, for a match. I don't know that you bring Brock back to lose to Nakamura. So, but I mean, there again, now again, you're looking. It depends upon how long term we're looking here. If you're looking to build WrestleMania, this is definitely a way to do it. Is you have him challenge, and it goes out, and people answer those challenges, and none of them are the true person he's talking about. And
Mhm.
the person he's actually talking about is Punk, and they hold it until WrestleMania, and that is going to upset a lot of people in Chicago if the end game is he's back, but he doesn't come out tomorrow. But I think that is definitely a long term, like WrestleMania is that pop is going to be enormous if you
Mhm.
can hold it till then and not have it leak out. But again, can you find enough opponents to do that where it can mean, oh well, it must be this person, and they come out because they've been challenged by Nakamura, and then he beats them and tells them no, you weren't the one, and just
Mhm.
continue to build that. That'd be an interesting build. I don't know, that's pretty long term for what they've been doing, especially with Nakamura.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Again, if they do that, they got all the way until like early April, because that's usually when WrestleMania is early April. But it's like I said, will the fans still be invested? Like that was like the one thing that I still worry about with Cody, that you'll make us wait until again WrestleMania, which again they've done a somewhat decent job. Again, I knew they threw Brock Lesnar at us for Cody to
Mm,
face during the summer, and then now it's just been Judgment Day. Um, Possibly might even be Randy Orton to be his like
mhm,
next opponent before he goes on to facing Roman. But I will say for Cody, I think the interaction that he had with the Bloodline when they were still tag champs, and he had his face face to face with Roman, was something that was really needed to just remind the audience, like, hey, this is still probably going to be
mhm,
our plan, just so you can stay excited about that. And I believe I told Waffles, like, I really needed that. Like that was like and some adrenaline, just to point out
mhm.
from his lyrics that I had really needed, because I was like, hell yeah, because they're still teasing it like, hey, it's still there. They did it again on SmackDown last week with him helping out LA Knight. But
Yep.
I'm like, I do like you brought up for Shinsuke that he can go through like this in a way gauntlet, that he's just fighting people and he's just cutting promos like, it's not this person, and he's still calling out whoever it is. Mm, I did have this possible feeling that if Punk were to return, they would do, and this was a plan that he suggested back after Brawl Out, when he had gotten in his fight with the Elite, and he had took time off and he was ready to leave AEW at that point too, that he had pitched the idea that he would fight Kevin Owens at WrestleMania 39 in LA if he was able to get out of his contract, if things were
Mm,
going to go well. That was something that he had pitched. I wouldn't mind if they had even redid that and do that
yep.
for Mania 40, but I'm like, oh, I really don't know. It's like I just want CM Punk to return. And I know he's toxic in the workplace and everything, but come on. Come on now. Come
But the
on.
crowds, the money.
I did see a report from Cultaholic, and they had said that WWE will be willing to sign Punk if that's what the fans really want. And I mean, I know there's going to be, of course, the fans that don't, because again, of all the backstage shit. I mean, it's wrestling. There's always going to be backstage politics and shit. So it's like
Yeah.
that's something you can't avoid. It's just it really just got blown out and been and like very out in public with AEW compared to what was whatever going down because I know he still had beef backstage in WWE during his time, but it wasn't like fully publicized
Y-
like
Yeah,
shit that he was doing in AEW.
yeah, they kept it a little more under wraps. But yeah, I don't know. I'm be interested to see how that works out. I haven't quite decided if he's back. I was looking at the tiebreaker questions. I haven't quite decided if he's back or not.
Um,
I would love to
I,
see it.
I
Chicago
said
would lose their mind.
yes because I'll be the delusional fan.
Yep, I saw that. But Chicago will lose their mind.
I will say, and I saw this on Twitter, just because this could be like the funniest thing that they could do is they can play Cult of Personality, but instead of Punk coming out, is Grayson Waller.
Yes.
I could, and I honestly agree with that because I'm like, dude, the nuclear heat that he will get from the crowd from that,
Yes.
I'm like, I would not mind that at all because it would be funny as hell. And then I'm like,
Hmm.
but I'm like, ugh, I still want Punk to come back. Oh, man.
Well, there's another option. I mean, you're kind of talking about that. Do you do exactly what you just said? Grayson Waller comes out now, while Nakamura is running his gauntlet. Now you can have a war of words between Waller and Punk, and Waller can bring up all the stuff that is known about Punk, and then he can just kind of keep goading him. And again, no responses. So it really, I say war of words, but it'll just be Waller cutting promos every week on Punk, trying to get him to come back, and eventually it wears it out, and he finally comes back, kicks the shit out of Waller, and then they move on to the Punk Shinsuke.
Mm,
So I don't know. There's a lot of options here, and Punk is so polarizing, and he's such a crowd favorite that it would be very that anything they do to introduce him back is probably going to blow up.
mm.
It's just the way it is.
Man, I really, and I'm like so happy with work because we're at work. They're doing 12-hour shifts, but since I'm part time, I'm still doing our regular shifts. So I'll be back home just in time to start watching the pay-per-view. So I'm like,
Perfect.
I'm just very excited, and I'm like, but yeah, I mean, I got nothing else to
Well,
go into that one unless you got any other thoughts for CM Punk.
nope, but we do have one more match to talk about.
Mm-hmm. One more match indeed. Again, possibly
Ooh.
the main event of Survivor Series War Games. You have Judgment Day plus Drew McIntyre because McIntyre has already said that he's not part of Judgment Day. He's only teaming up with them because Jey Uso's on the other side of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Going up against Team Cody, which includes him, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Seth frickin' Rollins, and the return of Randy Orton. And I knew that they were gonna have to announce him sooner or later. Like as much as I would love to be a surprise for Randy Orton to
Yep.
be that mystery fifth member, just because of what's going on with CM Punk and stuff,
Yep.
we're gonna assume it was him. And if it wasn't gonna be him, you could honestly even see the crowd turning on Randy. And I really doubt that's what WWE wants to
No.
happen. So that's why they announced him on Monday Night Raw. Now he didn't appear, so he's probably still gonna get the mega pop that he's gonna get when he comes out. But I do like that they want to protect Randy from the crowd a little, because again, they will possibly turn on him if it wasn't gonna be CM Punk.
Yeah, I think that. I think that's yeah. That's something I definitely think that you're right on. That they don't want to take that chance. Um, I was a little surprised because I thought it would for sure be LA Knight after Cody came in and helped him on SmackDown. I thought for sure that would be the route they would go with it, um, but again, just an absolutely amazing way to bring Orton back. I mean, and so what I'm fully expecting. So I think two things. It's in this one. I think I'm agreeing with you that Team Cody wins it, but I think there's some quote unquote delays of Randy getting to the arena.
Mm,
So they start the match with only three guys in their cage. They don't have the fourth one, and it's Orton who's missing. And that
mm,
there's conversation about, oh well, he's not gonna make it. And then the pop when he's the last guy in, because they don't have the advantage, so they will realistically have the last guy that comes into the match, and that he comes out from the back, and the crowd goes absolutely crazy.
mm. I mean, I could see that. I already know going in that Orton will be the last person to enter in because of the injury that he had faced, and again, his doctor had even advised for him just to retire
Yep.
because of the kind of back injury it was. And this is like a back injury that I think no other wrestler has realistically dealt with other than possibly Shawn Michaels when he had his lower back injury in which he had to retire for like 5 years. But like the way that Orton has talked about how he's progressing and stuff, I really doubt they're gonna make him take really big bumps during this match. Again, that's why you'll be the last one to enter in the match.
Yep.
But I know there's a lot of, and one of the tiebreaker questions is Orton going to turn heel? Because again, there's a lot of people that brought up the scenario of if you look carefully at Jey Uso during Cody's announcement of Orton coming back, you can see Jey Uso like terrified as hell because of the Randy Orton's last appearance, in which it was he got beat down by the Bloodline, and this is where they basically written out Randy Orton out of the story just so he can go get his surgery and stuff for the back injury. But you see that look of like that he's scared, that you could either go the route of he RKO's Jay during the match, costs Team Cody, or they win, and then as soon as the match ends, he RKO's Jey Uso, and then they go split off and do a feud right there, kind of thing.
Yeah. Um, I was trying to think of everybody that's in that match. It could be, and I don't know where this lands on your heel, because I don't think I think he lands right in the middle of that fence. And I haven't thought this through, so it's progressing through my head as we're talking about it here. Is so he comes out, gets the win. Team Cody gets the win. They're they're celebrating. All of a sudden, he RKO's everyone. He leaves everyone laying. He's the only one standing at the end, and it's him on the turnbuckle at the end as they cut to black, basically as the pay-per-view ends. Because now, is he heel? Is he face? Why did he RKO everyone, including Cody and Seth? I mean Seth. There, you can see that one too. They've had their feud, um, and it's just, I don't know. I just don't know what they're gonna do with him coming back. Like you said, it's just a matter of how much are they gonna want him? How many bumps are they really gonna let him take? Um,
Mm,
and if I mean, you think about 9 RKO's and he stands alone at the end of it. I mean, mentally, you don't know where he's at, and
mm,
that's the other part of it. Is it's like, okay, how do we? as a everyone else is like, oh, he's on our team, but where the hell has he been? We haven't talked to him. We don't know anything. So I'm interested to see how they run this because, like I said, I for me, Orton is at his best when he doesn't care who he takes out.
Mhm.
Face, heel, doesn't matter. He destroys everybody. And if he's looking to if they're looking to give him again, I guess it's a matter of what do they looking to do long term with him? Are they looking to give him another run, or are they, is this going to be, hey, this is kind of his send off, and he's gonna be here once in a while, and um, but I don't know. I guess I don't know what their mindset is with him and where they're thinking about going with him. So, um, but I could see that. I could 100% see him RKO and everybody being the last man standing and his music playing over as the pay per view ends.
Mhm. I mean, that'll be interesting. Again, I gotta go with Team Cody just because I went with
Yep.
the heel team for the women's to win. Because again, I don't feel like WWE would go with the double babyface team winning this. And mm, there's also, again, what they had been setting up with possibly Judgment Day, not completely breaking up, but kicking out Damian Priest. Because he was like, oh, Judgment Day has no team leader and all this other stuff until God, was it Cody? Yeah, it was Cody that made him like finally say like, no, I'm actually the team leader kind of thing, not Rhea and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of butting heads with Drew McIntyre, like
Yep.
on Monday, because it was originally going to be Damian Priest versus Jay Uso for the advantage, but Drew McIntyre was like, no, I want my hands on Jay right now. I'll be the person that represents this team. And again, they were butting heads. You saw the stuff that he was, well, they're no longer butting heads with JD McDonough, but I'm like,
Yep.
I feel like he's obviously gonna eat the pin because I'm like, I
Oh
don't,
yeah.
because I don't see Drew McIntyre eating the pin. You don't want
Mm-mm.
Damian Priest eating the pin because
Nope.
he's a champion and plus still has the money in the bank. Can't have Balor because he's also a champion, and the same with Dominic. He's still North American champion. But I'm like, you can even still have Dominic take the pin. But realistically, JD McDonough could possibly just eat the pin. And
Yep.
honestly, no one on Team Cody could afford to eat a pin
Nope.
because you have your world champion there. You can't have him take a pin, and can't have Cody or Jay or Randy or Sammy again
Nope.
taking pins because they're top baby faces. Again, we don't. It's still a question mark on Randy Orton whether he's going to be a baby face or a heel or another term that's the in between, a tweener that people like to call
Yep.
him. That's the in between. That's either that they just don't give a shit, basically. But I'm
Yeah.
like,
See, I think the problem with him is you can't. I don't think you can turn him straight heel
mm,
because I don't think the fans will allow it. I think the
mm,
fans will rebel against that, which means you're looking at. That's why I think I see him in a. Oh, so back in the day, it was kind of the role that Austin played,
mm,
where he stunned everybody. He didn't care. He didn't care who you were. He wasn't looking for friends. He was out for himself, and fans loved him for it. And that's what I think is going to happen here is that Cody's going to come out and he's going to, plus you have a whole new number of feuds if he's able to go that
mm,
you can do with that at that case. So I don't know. I'm going to be interested to see the Randy side of this makes it interesting, but I just don't see anyone. As you said, I see nobody on that team who can afford the loss or to take the pin. Make JD's your obvious number one, and Dom's my number two if it's not going to be McDonough.
mm.
But or it could be that man, I don't think they would ever do this, but you could see Priest take it if he gets taken out by Drew.
That could happen. Or you know what?
So say
I
McIntyre hits him with a Claymore.
I was just like thinking, even Priest could even take the pin because you just brought up that factor. And then there's also a factor because he is Money in the Bank. I know the little trend
Yep.
that Money in the Bank people usually go through is that they'll go on like this little losing trend until they eventually win the title. I could even see that possibly happening. But I'm like, it's just God, I don't know what they're gonna do with this match because of all these
Yeah.
scenarios going into it. Mm. And then again, you still have to come back the idea of CM Punk not showing up. So you need to put like
Yep.
an absolute banger of a match on.
Yeah, and I think these 10 guys are capable of doing that. I think it's going to be the crowd's going to be into it. I think it's definitely going to be there's we've talked about a bunch of different ways they could take this, and I think that for me is what makes it really interesting. It's not like it was a I'll use the worst match in my opinion, the Santos Carlito match. You no doubt what's going to happen in that match. There's going to be some other details, but you know who at the end of the day is going to win that match because there is zero reason for him not to win the match.
Hmm.
It zero reason, and so I see this one in that same, not in that same manner. That this is one of those that they have so many directions they could go. You have probably two or three guys we've called out that could take the pin, but how do they get to that point? The
Mm.
options here are unlimited for what they're going to do. So I'm expecting that one to be arguably one of the best war games we've seen, especially because going in you don't have a clue who's taking the win here.
Mm.
We're saying that we think we believe it's going to be Team Cody, and that's our prediction. But to be realistically, I could see it going either direction because the storyline can be built either way. I
Mm.
still think Team Cody wins it because I don't think any one of those five guys can take a pin. It doesn't bode well for anything they want to do with them down the road. So I'm leaning that way, but I could see a storyline where McIntyre causes Priest to get pinned,
Mm.
and because he's not part of Judgment Day, or he and Rhea have a little agreement where he actually is part of Judgment Day, but the whole reason he's going to be in Judgment Day is to boot out Damian Priest.
Mm.
I mean, there's just a ton of options here that they haven't given us insight into, and that's it kind of crazy, but it makes it exciting for me to watch.
Mm. I mean, I will like to add on, especially for Team Cody. This is Cody's first War Games, and this is a stipulation that his dad created. So, do you really want to see the son of the person that created this stipulation lose?
Nope, you don't.
Mm. So that's why I'm like, ugh, again, I'm still gonna go with my gut and say it's Team Cody because I'm like, mm, I feel like they'll eventually do like the reverse bloodline here. mm, mm,
Yep.
That and plus, Sammy and Jay are on the same team, just like last year in War Games. But man, I don't know. But I do agree with you. Like, if Randy Orton were to go the route of I don't care, he would probably wait until the end of the match to do that.
Yep.
Not,
But I
not.
think he gives the stunner to whoever takes. I think he gives the RKO to whoever takes the pin. I think it's one of those where maybe you get five finishers, one right after another, with that being the final one. And then I think if that happens where he wipes out his team, it happens during the celebration afterwards. I don't think there's any way it happens during the match because
Mm.
you don't. The last thing you want to do, especially with what we've talked about with some of the other possibilities of things that aren't happening, the CM Punk side of things, that you don't want to leave the crowd with an unfinished match in war, especially in war games, because the whole point of that is to be able to finish it.
Mm.
So yeah, should be interesting though. I'm
Should be interesting. Again, 5 match card on the pay-per-view. So of course, a lot of that time is going to be designated to War Games. So should be interesting. But again, we both agree on Team Cody. Any other thoughts before we get into the tiebreaker questions?
Nope.
Alrighty then. How many questions was it? One, two, three, four, five. I should have added a sixth one. I was like, will we see blood? Because I know this is probably the only opportunity that Cody could possibly bleed on WWE TV. But I was like, nah, I'll leave that off. But for the first few questions are the same. I have who starts off for both teams in the women's war games. And I went with Bianca and Bailey, and you went with Shotzi and Bailey. How come you chose Shotzi for this one?
I think I think Shotzi is similar to what we talked about in the actual rundown of the match. I think she's your punching bag
Hmm.
from this side, and I think Bailey from the standpoint she's gonna some along the lines that she's gonna say, "Hey, this is I'll lead us off because I'm the leader," and blah blah blah. Um, at the end of the day, I think it's still setting up what we talked about. But yes, I went with Shotzi just because I think she's the one she's the one you don't need to protect.
Mm. I mean, for me, I went Bianca because she opened and she opened war games too. She was the first one to enter. But I'm like, I could even see Shotzi start because I was mainly going based off experience. Because I'm like, this is Charlotte Flair's first war games. This is gonna be Becky's second, and then
Yep.
Bianca. I believe this is her third or fourth, and then I believe this is Shotzi's second because I know she did a war games match during pandemic era NXT,
Yep.
but I'm still gonna go with Bianca just because the experience. Then the other question was who starts off for both teams on the men's. I went with JD McDonough and Sami Zayn, and then you went with JD and Jey Uso.
Yep.
I know Jey Uso started off for last year's men's, so I can possibly even see that. I just went with Sammy just because you'll probably have a little like explosive beginner match with JD.
Yeah. No, I went with Jay on this one just because I think he again I'm looking at him stating that since he lost the advantage match, he wants to start war games. So
Okay.
that's why I went with him. Is he's going to do this as trying to prove that he can carry not that he can carry his own, but that was a fluke that he never should have lost that.
Mm,
And JD, just because same reason I picked Shotzi for the women is he's your punching bag. He's your guy that you're not protecting.
okay. And then third question was Damage Control turning on Bailey. We both said yes because I feel like if it's not gonna happen here, it's gonna happen possibly at Royal Rumble. That's
Yeah, the
all.
seeds are going to be set for it here. Whether they pull a trigger on it or not is going to be the question.
But I still went with yes, just because there is the scenario if they lose.
Yep.
Then the other question is something that we were already going into: does Randy Orton turn heel? I went with no, because again, he's just barely returned. Again, you did bring up after the match that he could just RKO everyone and just be the only one standing. I could totally see that, but I'm just gonna go with no, because again, everyone's gonna be super excited that he's gonna be back in the ring, and he's gonna get babyface treatment from the crowd.
Yep.
So that's why I'm like, I do not see him turning heel. Possibly, it could still happen, but as of right now, I'm still gonna go with no. And then so last question is CM Punk return. I said yes because I'm delusional. You said no, even though I would love it. I mean,
I
again,
would
this.
love it if he did.
I mean, I would love it too. This is going to be probably the most anticipated thing that everyone's just going to be keeping their eyes on Survivor Series. As sad as that is, because the card is pretty solid as it is. You're going to get a Gunther match. You're going to get Rhea Ripley wrestling. Santos and Carlito should be fantastic. And then you have two War Games matches. But again, everyone's having their eyes on CM Punk, and it also doesn't help because the band that does Cult of Personality released a remastered version of Cult of Personality, and so that doesn't help. CM Punk actually posted about that on his Instagram, but a lot of things to go in on that, and it's again probably the most anticipated thing that will happen at Survivor Series, whether he's not showing up or he does show up. But like I said, you pretty much got into a Royal Rumble to have him return, unless if you had brought up they do this whole thing like they do with Cody and have him show up at WrestleMania. But I feel like it would be better for him to show up possibly tomorrow, if not Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of I think, and from obviously watching what he's done in his career, he understands the business side of it. He understands the let's see. He understands kind of the toying with the audience and the back and forth and all that. So I think he would be on board with doing something like that or teasing it as much as possible
Mm,
before it actually happens. Because he's always kind of been that he's always played that role. So
mm,
that's my thought on it. And again, I want him to come back tomorrow night. I absolutely want him to come back tomorrow night. I want that to hit, and I want the place to just lose its mind. And I don't even. But the problem I have with it is when does that happen? Do you bring him back early in the show and overshadow maybe women's war games, assuming that's going to start your show,
mm,
or do you do it at the end, overshadowing what the fact that Randy Orton just came back? Now, I say that, but then I will step back that AEW did that. Was it when he came in that he and Daniel Bryan both came in the same night?
Oh no, that was Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole.
Yes, that was
When
it. Okay.
they came in after Kenny, I forgot who did Kenny beat, and Kenny had basically cut this promo. Well, there's no one here to beat me and all those other things.
Yep.
Adam Cole had came out, and then this is where Adam Cole was a heel and he joined the Elite faction,
Yep.
and then Daniel Bryan's music hit, and then boom, end of show.
So it's been we've seen it happen WWE. We've seen it happen at least with the AEW. So I mean, you could see that where Orton comes back at the end of as the last entrance to War Games. War Games gets done. Well, and again, if we want to expand this, if Orton's last man standing, out comes Nakamura and he attacks him, and then Punk's music hits. I mean, there's so many ways they could do this. You're going to send the crowd home happy. The place is going to go absolutely nuts.
Mm,
And coming off of War Games, that could be just that what sends it over the top. Plus, you do it at the end of the pay per view, so people are around for the whole thing, waiting to see it happen. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do with it tomorrow night. I think it's going to be a high quality event, and it's definitely got the possibility of being one of the best pay per views that we've had in quite a while.
mm. I mean, it'll be interesting. I'm looking at Twitter just in case if there's any other things. As I'm saying again, as I had talked about earlier, that WWE is willing to sign CM Punk if the fans want it. Dave Meltzer spoke on the Wrestling Observer that this is assuming that Punk wants to come back, of course. And then, yeah, they brought up that, well, every creative head has their plans. This creative side is not looking to be combative with the audience like Vince McMahon often was.
Yo,
So they're more open to the idea compared to like if Vince was still in charge. But yeah, I'm like seeing anything else. I have NBA Twitter like all over because of the person from the Thunders that I will not name. But I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, it should be interesting though. I'm excited. This is one of those I've been excited for once they started kind of setting the card. So
Mm. But yeah, other than that, I don't see anything else involving CM Punk right now. I know Grayson Waller just posted a video of him roaming around Chicago, and I'll listen to that later and see what he has to say because I know he's just going to be trolling.
oh, of course.
But yeah, that about wraps it. I'll wrap it up on YouTube and then we'll continue a little bit longer on Twitch. But hello to the YouTube audience. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. I would like for you guys to drop your guys' predictions in the comments as soon as I have this uploaded, which will probably as soon as I wrap up this podcast. But yeah, I will see you guys next time.